So this hands-on practice I think is going to be really important for you guys. We're going to create a new version of the Lighthouse Island Bistro homepage with a top header section that spans 2 columns. We're going to have content on the left, put our navigation on the right, and a footer section that goes across the bottom. We're going to configure the CSS in an external style sheet. This is the part that I think is really important. So far we've been doing everything in an embedded, which you can do, but the external style sheet is really the way I want you guys to start to think of. This is the best way to do your style sheets. We're going to create a new folder. We're going to call it Chapter 7 Bistro. We're going to get our Lighthouse Island and logo and starter 5 file and copy those over into our bistro. Let's open up that starter 5 and see what we're working with. Let's look at our starting point. So this is where we're starting. So we're going to come up here in the head section and we're going to add a link to an external style sheet. We haven't created that style sheet yet, and that's fine because the only thing that matters is the file name, because if we put the file name here, as long as that's what we use for a style sheet, it's automatically going to link. So we're going to come down here, we're going to go link href equals file name. So I need to make sure that I name my CSS file bistro.css for it to match up. We're saying, hey, it's going to be a style sheet. Okay, and then we're going to save this as index.html. Run it, nothing should be changed, right? All we've done is add a style sheet which doesn't exist yet. That's fine. So now we're going to create a new file in Notepad++. We're going to go, hey, a new file. And we're going to name this file, save as, bistro.css. So this is now our CSS file. We'll come over here, there's our bistro.css. As long as it's the file we named, we should be good. So we're going to do our universal selector for our box sizing to our border box. Remember, that's the asterisk box sizing border box. Add a body element selector. Save this. Oops. If we come over here, refresh our page, nothing really happened. That's fine. Haven't done a lot to it yet, right? Body. Spell it correctly. Background color. Font family, Verdana, Arial, Sans, Serif. Save. So we have our code. Where's my page? Here we go. Okay. Oops. Where's my notepad? I lost my notepad. There it is. So here we have all of this. Here's our bistro. Now if we run it, that's what we're looking at so far. Now, from here to here, not really attractive yet, right? Lots more CSS styling to go. Wrapper. So ID of wrapper, we want it to have a margin of 0, auto, width of 80%, min width of 940 pixels, background color, and this is going to be a medium blue background, and then remember color is our text color, and this is going to be a dark blue. Save this. Now, you can't run your CSS file. If you do, this is what it's going to look like, right? It's just going to literally run your CSS. I could just refresh this once I've saved my CSS, but I want you guys to really see the changes from each step of our CSS. So I'm going to come back over here and run our HTML file. So this is what we had before. This is what we've done by adding our code for our wrapper, and you can see within our HTML, come down, our div ID of wrapper is everything that's in the body of our page. So now let's go back to our CSS. Now we're going to configure our header element. So that's this section right here. We're going to code what we want that to look like. So we're going to come down here and say header, background color, which is kind of a slate blue. Text color, it's a dark blue. Font size, 150%. Padding, 10 pixels, 10 pixels. So this is going to give us top right and bottom padding. And then we want 155 pixels for our left. So remember, it goes clockwise. Our height is 150, ooh, spell it right, 150 pixels. Background repeat, no repeat, because we're going to make our background image lighthouse logo.jpg. Save that. So this is configuring our header. So now this is what we had, then we configured our header element right here. Now our nav element, we want it floated over to the right. So we're going to come into our CSS, nav, float to the right, width of 150 pixels, font weight, bold, letter spacing, 0.1 em. Save that. So now our nav is over here floated to the right instead of just kind of sitting up here. So slowly we're starting to configure our page a little better. Next, our main element. So we're going to give it a white background. Text color is going to be black. Padding of 10 pixels on the top and bottom and 20 on the left and right. Overflow set to auto. Display set to block. Save their CSS. So now our main section has that background color. It's kind of starting to format it into that two-column look for us. Now we're going to configure the footer element because, again, like before, our footer is kind of blending into our navigation. We want our font size at 70%, our text aligned to center, padding all the way around at 10 pixels. Change the background color so it stands out. and it'll be that slate blue that we've already used. And we're going to clear both. Save it. So now you can see the slate blue matches our blue up here, makes it stand out from the navigation, and then it clears both and then it goes all the way across both of them. So we're going to continue editing the file, and we're going to style our H2 selector and our floating image. We're going to give the H2 selector a slate blue text color with a sans serif font. So let's come over here, let's do that. H2, color is 8690, that's slate blue. Font family, Arial sans serif. So you can see here, again, this is just applying to our H2s, so it's just slightly smaller, different look to it, which is good. Now we want to do our float right. Our ID of float right, so let's see if we can figure out. Here we go. So that's going to apply to the image of the lighthouse island. It's going to apply to this one right here, so we don't have so much white space going on. ID float right. Float right. Margin of 10 pixels. So now, instead of all this white space, we've floated that image to the right. Looks a lot better. Now we want to fix our navigation bar. We want to set this up a little bit better so it looks a little more refined. So let's come over to our styles. First thing we're going to do is eliminate our markers, set our 0 margin and padding. So let's find our nav up here. We're going to go nav UL, not brackets, not those, but our brackets, list style type set to none. Our margin of 0 and our padding of 0. Padding of 0. Launch it in Chrome. So we've gone from here to here. So now we've done a little configuration to our nav. Now we're going to configure those hyperlinks within our navigation. So you're going to come down here, nav A for our anchor elements, text decoration, none, get rid of the underline, padding 20 pixels all the way around, display block, background color, border bottom 1 pixel solid, with a white. So let's save that. Launching Chrome. Look at that. Doesn't that look so much better than that? And that's just a matter of getting rid of the hyperlink, making sure you give enough padding to everything, changing the color, giving that 1 pixel white solid background underneath every anchor element makes it look like it's buttons almost. So now let's configure our pseudo classes. Remember, I like the pseudo classes. So we're going to come over here. Nav A link color white. Oops. Nav a visited color. Nav a hover color. But we're also going to give it a background color as well as a text color when they're hovering over it. Okay, so let's save that. So here's our buttons, that light gray, but notice that when we hover over it, it changes to that light gray with the white text as well. Super easy to do, a couple lines of code, but it actually makes it look like we've added buttons to our navigation. So from here to added buttons that change when we hover over them, and it's just CSS. So we took it with some lines of CSS from here all the way to this. A much more refined looking site.